Hello, everyone, and we are live. If anyone who is not familiar with me, I go by Jay, and I'm a DevRel engineer over here at Midnight. Today, I'm joined with two special guests from our team to celebrate the launch of Night and to discuss what this means for you all, the developers. Before we jump in, I want to first say that this is a dev hangout for developers to come and learn about Midnight, how to develop their applications, ask the team questions, and understand the implications of our future updates. This is not a place for speculation, for token talk, so we won't be answering any of those sort of questions. And this hangout, we're going to focus primarily on functionality. With that said, Lauren, can you introduce yourself and tell us how are you feeling about our launch?
That's a great clarification, Jay. Let's stay on the talk of tech and just really talk about developers and our builders. Excited and really proud of the team. It's been a long time coming, as Charles has been saying. It's so proud to see all the hard work pay off. And yes, introducing myself to everyone who doesn't know me, I lead our developer relations team at Midnight Foundation. We're a team dedicated to onboarding developers who want to build on Midnight. So anything when it comes to education, getting started, docs, hackathons, and everything in between. And Ben, who are you?
Thank you, Lauren. Hi, everybody. My name's Ben Beckmann. I'm the Chief Technical Advisor at the Midnight Foundation. I'm responsible for the solutions and the product team. So those that talk to the partners, kind of listen to their needs and wants, and then we sew those through into product requirements to help deliver the application tooling that you need so that you can build on top of Midnight.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for the intros and for sharing your excitement with the launch. For me personally, I'm excited to go from reading about it in the white paper to watching it go live, seeing kind of the background and also the community contributing, because it doesn't happen, in isolation. It's about everyone contributing to the repos, to the hackathons, and participating and building this community with us. So that's been an exciting journey. Now, up until now, anyone who has developed applications on Midnight, they've been interacting with Dust, but we've seen Night launch and a lot of people talking about Night. So Ben, can you tell us what is Night and what is Dust?
Sure. So they're separate things. Night is the usual token that everybody is familiar with. It's an unshielded token. It is out in the environment today. You can come and interact with it. What it gives you the ability to do is it gives you control and ownership over that particular asset. It'll give you governance capabilities. But one of the other novelties is you can use it to generate dust, which I think we'll be talking about a bunch today. And so there's a registration step. You take your Night and you register where you would like your dust to be produced. Dust will be produced at that particular location, and you use that dust as the fee payment for the network. So you want to actually execute some smart contracts. You'll use that dust that's generated to pay for the fee to actually run the smart contract.
Thanks for the explanation. I felt it was important for us to clarify the differences before we dive into this. So when I was reading the white paper and going through this, I noticed that Dust is shielded, Night is public. So I'm wondering, when I transfer Night to other wallets, is any of my information exposed? Can people trace what's happening in my wallet?
Well, so let's keep the Dust and Night kind of separation here. So Night is transparent. As it moves around, you can look it up on block explorers. You can look up what address it is. If you know a little more information, you can kind of get some insights on what's going on. Dust does not have that property. Dust is a shielded resource. It can be used to run smart contracts, but the nice part about that shielded resource is it can elide information like the metadata of the transaction, so who the sender is and the value and things like that. It can allow you to run smart contracts that have different levels of transparency. So you can disclose information through those smart contracts depending on what the smart contract does. But Dust itself can remain just privately consumed as fuel that you use to run the system.
Thanks for the explanation. So it seems like all of the metadata with transfers are associated with Nights, but then in application, we're using Dust. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Yeah, just kind of back to the separation. The night is what gives you the ability, the superpower to gain access to that dust. There are some novelties on how you can gain access here, but if you have night, you will be able to generate dust, right? You'll be able to put gas in your car. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to run that system, right? So the gas that's in my car, whatever, I can mix it with other gas. I can drive that car around as much as I like, and it's kind of independent of where I bought it from, right? That no one really cares there. And so what you can do with the dust is you can fuel the smart contract interaction. And so those smart contract interactions can be, as elaborate or as simple as folks on the phone can come up with, but it'll depend on what people specify in the smart contract themselves. And the nice part about those smart contracts is you can choose what information gets disclosed publicly, what information could be revealed by a viewing key, what information is, private to me and only me. And that level of kind of rationality is where the novelty comes in. And the nice part is by spending the dust, you're not revealing, what you're doing and necessarily, but the interaction with the smart contract is where the actual viewing of what's going on the chain is realized. So the nice part is I can act on something. I can take action. That something can kind of do proofs to verify that, yes, I'm doing this appropriately. I have the funds to do it. And it can also set rules to make sure that I'm, the right form, fit, function for this particular operation. But dust itself is just the gas.
Okay, Jay and I were talking about this earlier this week, and actually someone in the community is asking a question. Can we jump in, Jay, with questions, or do we want to hold those for later?
No, yeah, I think we could jump in with questions as they come.
Yeah, okay, so Hold Harmony is asking, being renewable with others, will others know how much dust you hold?
No. So there is a linkage between your night and dust generation because you do have to register. You do have to say, please put my dust over here. And night is transparent. So when you do that with night, there's a record of that. But then how the dust is spent is it's spent using commitment nullifier type technology. And so you'll know that way back when Ben's generating dust over here, but how I'm doing that interaction doesn't get revealed by how I spend the dust.
I
Good,
like,
Lauren?
I like, yeah, the continuous referring it to gas is just like really hammering it in my brain. And I think it's a really nice, just like, that's the metaphor, use it as such, think of it as that way. And then, yeah, it really kind of connects it to your brain then.
And it's interchangeable, right? Like if you take the car example, I wouldn't do this, but I could go from gas station to gas station to gas station, filling it up.
Totally.
All of that gas allows me to get from A to B, and you can do a similar thing with dust. If I'm not using mine, I could decide to allocate it to my friends, my business, whatever it may be, so that they can consume it.
Oh, there's a lot of business plan models in that. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Interesting.
Yeah, we can definitely touch on that in a little bit because I've had several ideas. I've written articles about this, about like gasless transactions and stuff. So we'll get to that. But one thing I wanted to clarify is that when you hold nights and you're generating dust, there are different circumstances where you'll generate dust or you will not. So can you touch on that? Under like what conditions is night not generated in dust? Because developers are going to have to consider where are they placing things.
Yeah, so we spent quite a bit of time trying to navigate how we can bring this technology to market in a way that makes it most useful to as many people as we can. So when you get night, so if night is just put in your wallet, it's just there as a normal token, like you see everything else. You can interact with it in the ways that you're used to. You have the opportunity, if you would like, to go and choose to generate dust. You don't have to. And if you've chose to generate it in the past, you can recall that if you choose. Right? You can nullify it or remove it from the set. So that is up to the the owner of the night to make that designation. And they, depending on what they want to do, they can just not generate the dust. They could generate the dust to themselves, or they could generate it somewhere else.
That has a lot of implications, for subsidizing either transactions, whether that's like your own transactions, or some things I've been thinking about is even like crowdsourcing this from your community. You have your users coming in, they have some night token, they could potentially assign it to you. So it opens the door for a lot of cool features. And one thing I wanted to get a little bit deeper into with designation, is this like an all or nothing? So I assign one wallet, all the dust that's being generated goes there, or can I assign it maybe to several different dust wallets? How does that actually work?
So you can be very elaborate with how you do this. I think initially it'll be kind of an address with night in it. Gets, they generate to a particular dust address. I think that's probably how people will use it when they get going. But I suspect as people start to see the power of this, they'll notice that you can fan these out. You can split them up. So the UTXO level of the night token can allow you at that level to specify where its dust goes. So if you choose, you can take that $10 bill and break it into 5 $2 bills. Sorry, I'm showing where I'm from. And you could allocate each one of those separately if you chose, or you could break it into a 5 and a bunch of 1s and kind of do that so that you have a different level of weighting. I think what will happen is people will just do the normal kind of, whatever I have in my wallet, I'm going to generate over here for a little while. But then as they realize that there's other models to this where maybe I only use half of the dust that I have and this other half could go somewhere else for lots of reasons, that they'll start to come up with tools that can, let's say, split the night just at the UTXO level. So this isn't hard to do. You just spend it so you get it in the right configuration that you want, and then register it to generate the dust.
Nice. And Lauren, I saw kind of you reacting when I was talking about, sponsoring transactions and that kind of thing. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share?
No, I hadn't crossed my desk and thought yet, and it just opens up a whole other batch of. Let's do a hackathon about that. Like that's I love that idea. I mean, there's just so much to be done, and the businesses, the different. I mean, the limit doesn't exist. I'm so excited. It just, anytime I hear about a use case, it feels like it opens up a whole new door. We're getting a whole bunch more questions, by the way, in the chat, so we might want to jump to those too. I can bring a few up. One is to clarify, right now, Night lives on ADA Q1. Sometime it will have mainnet launch. So just timeline roadmap clarification.
Yep. Yeah. So we did the Midnight Summit a few weeks back in sunny old London, and we announced the time frame and the roadmap for Midnight, at least over the next year. Mainnet launch is Q1. So Night is out circulating today, and that night will allow you to generate dust on mainnet.
And then
I'm also
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm going through the rest of the questions now. So someone is asking, will Midnight be an independent blockchain and able to create native tokens on it?
Yes. So you can create lots of different types of tokens. Let me elaborate a little bit to highlight this. So the ledger itself in Midnight allows you to, I'd say, produce 3 different types of tokens. So there's dust. I'm going to ignore that for a moment. The 2 big categories are shielded and unshielded tokens, which lots of use cases for those. They have very similar properties to Night and dust. The unshielded ones are the same thing as Night. The shielded ones are just like dust, except they're not the fee. They're not the fuel. But then we've also spent time with other partners to build out other types of tokens as well that come in different flavors. So for example, Open Zeppelin has built a fungible token, a non-fungible token, and a multi-token for us. They're public up on their GitHub repos. And what those let you do is they let you have a different model. So rather than having a ledger supported UTXO that's shielded or unshielded, now you have a contract supported token, much like an ERC20 or whatever the other numbers are for these. And those are available as well, so that you can come and you can build your NFT off of a standard that you trust. And so that's 5 kind of standards right off the bat there. And then we have other ones that are starting to evolve around RWAs and the like. So, it's kind of come and choose which one fits your use case best. Please come and talk to us when you find if they, maybe they're perfect and you need no improvements at all. But if you find that there's some rough edges, we'd love to hear about it, because, we're in the mode of definitely getting those things cleaned up. And then the direction that you want to go. It might be the case that these 5 that I just described don't fit the bill. They're missing something, or they're just not even the right flavor of what you're looking for. That's also very useful to us, so that we can drive the ecosystem or the partners in certain directions, and we can get the tools that we need.
Awesome. So there's a lot of contract standards that are coming up. If you're new to the community, I encourage you to check out the forum, to post on there. And if you're creating your own standards, that you'd like to see rolled out to the rest of the community, share it with us. We're constantly providing feedback and raising those community updates to everyone else. Now, one of the questions I've seen in chats regarding kind of these native tokens and springing up tokens on the network is, can you kind of interchange between shielded and unshielded, or once you've deployed the token, it's out there, you can't do this kind of shielded and unshielded process?
So the tokens themselves are separated, and the reason that they're separated is they live in just kind of different mathematical constructs, and crossing between the two, like doing that, is something you have to, let's say, be very careful about how you do it, because you can gain or lose properties in a way that aren't obvious. And so I do expect that people will come up with, let's say, a smart contract where I could put a shielded token in, and then it understands that, and it can produce some kind of output that is an unshielded representation, or something totally different, right? I put 10 shielded things in, I get 1 unshielded NFT. Like I can see that happening, but it's got to go through this manipulation process. And you got to be careful when you do that kind of thing, because you may expose information that is less obvious that you are, but it's being leaked to the system. So if you're doing it consciously, because your application requires that, then that's fine. But it's just something to kind of draw your eye to, right? When you're taking something from the non-transparent world and trying to bring it in the transparent world, there's gotchas to be concerned with. We will do things like strategies for, like, what's a good practice for this type of thing. Lauren's team for sure will get these types of questions. But in general, they live in their own worlds, right? Like, the unshielded token is unshielded. You can see everything that it does. If you want to kind of lock it into something and produce some other output, those are definitely possible to be able to do, but you're mixing and matching unlike things in that case.
Yeah, that's super interesting, because my impression was, once it's out there, that's it. But yeah, you can build solutions that kind of work between the two. That terrifies me personally, because I feel like maybe, there's room for making mistakes and maybe revealing something you can't. So it'll be an interesting thing. We need a lot of documents and around that.
Yeah, and I think there'll be a lot of creativity that shows up. But like, to kind of look, at the in real life world, I can pay with cash, or I can pay with a credit card. And I know they're not shielded and unshielded in the same exact way, but there are different mechanisms to get the payment through. And one of them is certainly revealing in the public sense, right? I'm handing cash to this particular person. The other one's, maybe more of a tap, which very little, like even the price doesn't necessarily get revealed in that interaction all the time. Sometimes you just kind of tap, and so there are similarities here, but you just, if you're interested in this, we should have a conversation so we can figure out good strategies.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in it. We'll probably talk internally. Lauren, do you have any thoughts? I feel like we'll definitely have to work on some demos or something for that.
Yeah, we will, right? Because that's as Ben said, it's the community will turn to us, and having best practices and guidance is our responsibility, I would say, right? To
Yeah, but
have an opinion.
I think have an opinion, but I think we also need to recognize we have a strong community, and a lot of them, I'm sure, will help.
Well, listen, I mean, we have so many folks in the chat today. Members of our elite program are here, as well as the ambassador program. So, I mean, it's so incredible to see people showing up for us that are a part of this ecosystem so early on. And I mean, I feel so lucky that this is our ecosystem before mainnet, right? Like our OGs, these people that are helping shape this ecosystem and the roadmap, et cetera. Yeah, I feel blessed that they are just like informing what needs to change, giving feedback. Yeah, and they will be the ones that are contributing it too. Yeah, they have way more opinions, frankly, than I, and are in the weeds much more often than I have time to these days. So yeah, I feel like I lean on them a whole lot right now. Yeah, I'm very grateful for you all. So thank you everyone in the chat, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing everyone showing up, participating on the forums and everything, it's encouraging.
Totally. Yeah. We are getting way more. By the way, I'm tracking all the questions everyone that's asking in the chat now because we've moved away from a bunch of topics, but we will return to them. I promise. I promise.
Yeah, so along those questions, I do see one from Jay Santi. Is there a tool to verify whether your night in a particular address is generating dust?
Well, at the moment, we have the circulating night that's out in the market, and there is no, like, mainnet launches early next year, so you have to wait on whether that is generating dust because there's no dust. The dust spend doesn't make any sense right now. We are diligently working on getting the preview and pre-prod nets that we announced up and out. Trust me, got lots of gray hair for lots of good reasons. It's getting close. It's almost there. Those environments will have this capability in it. So you'll be able to go to a faucet, you'll be able to go get your night, and you'll be able to go to an app, and you'll be able to give it an address for the dust and click a button, and it'll start generating it. So we've already seen this working, and we're getting near to getting this out to get it in folks' hands. What I imagine, again, kind of back to earlier, is people are going to come up with lots of different ways to do this. We'll provide a reference for here's kind of the basic way of doing it. Here's how, and then I have a feeling people will elaborate. So as for like a tool to come show things, I think these are ideal candidates to source from the community and those that want to establish a reputation for providing a particular tool. Come on, bring it on. We'll show the simple, with a particular wallet, here's how you go do the gesture. But that, like I said, I think will be a lot of elaboration for how to make this kind of useful in different environments. And, through tool development and kind of product conversations, we'll move towards those. I don't know that the foundation needs to come and build some elaborate machine control system to do this. I think there'll be interested counterparties that'll pick this up. But happy to give clues if anyone's interested.
So it sounds like as far as night and a testnet token, that's still pending, right?
It's coming. Oh my goodness. With bated breath, trust me. Very excited though. Lots of progress. So to give you a little insight, some of the tools that we use to make sure that we're providing quality products, let's say twist and turn the system in various ways to search for things that are like non-deterministic and other things like that. And so we do that at the crypto level, we do that at the network and like the indexer and wallet level. And the nice part is we're getting through that now. We're getting through that before we get to mainnet. Yeah, sure, we'll keep using the tool so we don't, retrograde in any way. But by going through and cleaning that stuff up, we're able to provide a better network. And looking historically, we did DevNet, we did 1 million blocks, we did testnet, we did 1 million blocks, we did testnet 2, it's at 2.5 million, 2.6 or 7 million. So it's moving along, and we're going to release this next one with a few more features in it, and it'll start pounding out blocks like everything else. We just want to make sure that it's ready, and when people come, they have a good experience.
I'm excited for that. We're prepping internally. I know, Lauren, you've been going back and forth with a lot of teammates. So I'm excited for that.
TikTok, it's keeping me up at night. No, it's listen, I'm stoked. Yes. So just to be clear, test night is coming. Yes. We are preview. Oh, okay. You got it. That was a joke. Got it. Stephanie. Yeah. Okay. So can we jump back to, I think we touched briefly on a hybrid DApp. Maybe you mentioned, Ben. Someone's asking for you to elaborate on what you mean by that in terms of architecture and what infrastructure maybe we would need for that to be in place for as a precondition.
Yeah. So we have, I would say, a few very clever things with how this tokenomics works. So the separation of night and dust in particular, I think, provides a lot of options. So there are a few services and code bases that the foundation and the Midnight Studios team are putting together and putting out in the public space for people to come and consume. And I can talk about those a little bit. What they're designed to do is they're designed to give you different form factors that you can deliver, let's say, a Midnight powered solution with. So one form factor is somebody that has a wallet and knows they're using a blockchain and wants to do things privately where they have the prover on their side of the system, which is something that's required to interact with Midnight, because you generate proofs to advance the state of the chain as opposed to submitting, transparent transactions. And so that separation, what you want to think about is what's the lifetime of this proof? How does it move? So when you first want to make one, you create an unproven transaction, you give it to the prover, you receive a proven transaction that's unbalanced, and then you balance it by adding the fee, and then it's a full-blown transaction and you can submit it. You get, as a developer, you can choose where those certain actions happen. So back to somebody that's using a wallet, like a Web3 wallet, well, that prover is probably pretty close to them. Maybe it's on their machine. Maybe they're using a service, a trusted service provided by their company, who knows, but it's usually pretty close to the user. We've had, through Lauren's team, multiple demonstrations of folks that have built pretty killer applications where you don't even know you're working with the blockchain. You have no idea whatsoever because they've abstracted some of these things away. They've, let's say, layered the proofs. They've enabled to be able to build the smaller, like the beginning part where I want to go and build a proof locally and then balance it out, on a cloud service. And so there's a tool, a batcher in particular, that's provided by the Midnight Studios team that allows you to fulfill those fee payments back on a cloud service. So if you want to provide, in a way, transactions as a service and you're going to pay the dust fee for them, this batcher, which is publicly available on GitHub, you can use. Another embodiment of it that we're building out with Google and BCW, a partner of ours, is a TE-enabled one, where it's a service that can be provided where you get the scale of a cloud in a confidential computing environment, which with trusted execution, where you can offload the proof generation to that service. And interestingly enough, that service could do lots of other things. It could accept payment, it could pay for you, it could submit for you, or it could give you back the proven transaction, right? The different trust models here. But by presenting these types of tools to the community, we think we can empower the different types of hybrid dApps, which might be a dApp that uses multiple chains, or it could be a dApp that brings in Web 2, right? It might be a dApp that lives on your phone that you don't even know touches crypto, but it's using the features of crypto. So for example, you could have an app on your iPhone that uses Midnight to prove that something happened, but how it works is it's just getting a deposit of dust from the vendor that provided you the app. So you don't even know it's there. Like, that embodiment is absolutely possible with the technology we're providing.
I know, Lauren, you were kind of excited about the hybrid dApps category. What does this provoke in your mind?
Oh, I think it's just, it's going to bring so much for us, right? It's bringing a whole new world of developers for us as well, right? And back to the piece of not knowing you're using it, that's a whole suite of users as well, and Web 2 developers too. Like there's 27,000 Web 3 developers. There's 16 million Web 2 developers. So I would like to access those a whole lot as well and bring them on to the space. So I think that's the number I think about a lot. And I just want to make this a bit more approachable to them. And the more accessibility to the tech we can make it and use cases we can think about, the more excited I am.
We had a blog written by one of our community members around connecting Midnight to Arc. And
Yeah.
having a TEE live in the middle so that it can handle the secrets, right? So if you're working in a company, you have to designate things to handle the secrets, which might not be people. Sometimes it's automated systems. And so by having that, you can prove properties about how you're, let's say, interacting with a pool that might be on Arc, but through Midnight by generating the proofs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also a type of hybrid app where, again, you're using the property of Midnight to do what it's good at, and you're leveraging these other services for what they're good at. This one just happens to be a Web3 style service.
I just don't like the idea of us having to like convince someone else to drop what they're good at either. Like if someone is they've invested all this time in something, and then us saying, "Oh, drop that knowledge and build something." Right now, you essentially have to build from scratch on Midnight at the current stage of where we're at in our roadmap, and so that it's tough, right? Like that from the ground up or natively on Midnight is a big ask. And so we've had all of our hackathon most successes have been, at universities where we're asking devs to just learn from scratch, essentially. But I want to be able to kind of, say, okay, I want to acknowledge all of the learning as a developer you've had in your life. And now let's just add this on top. So that will really allow us to tap into a whole new community of developers. And I think they'll get it more and be stoked about it and be like, yes, I've been waiting for this, and like feel really, I don't know, maybe be able to turn on a app that they've been wanting, maybe had to walk away from years ago, and now can bring back to life. And like, how cool is that? And yeah, there's just so much there. Wow. Jem is in the chat. Hi, Jem, is asking where to find the Batcher, by the way, before we move on from that topic.
The link is in our notes here. If we can
perfect. Yes, we'll get that then. So Jem, we got you.
Yeah, so I'm personally excited for the Batcher for that kind of experience, especially even as a user, having to acquire a wallet, then acquire some sort of native token to process transactions. A lot of times it just seems like too many hurdles. So if you're here and you're visiting us for the first time for Dev Hangout, I encourage you to take a look at last week's Dev Hangout because we actually had a demo of a on-chain game that you can interact with without having any wallet, any awareness that there's even a blockchain running in the background. So there you can find the Batcher and a demo of a game that our team's deployed. Well, one thing I wanted to also highlight is that since we're abstracting away all of the blockchain components, right, and we're not dealing with that, it makes me think that can there be a place where maybe I just pay for things in cash and have Midnight run in the background?
Absolutely. So you do have access to the blockchain tool if you want, but if you're just interested in how to interact with this and cash payment is something you want, this is absolutely something that can be done. We have I'm going to call it a cute name that we call a Babel station, which kind of depending on how close to the crypto world you live, you'll either understand what I mean by that, or you'd be like, what in the world is this guy talking about? But the idea is that the capacity of Midnight is what people are after. So you want to be able to prove something and you want to anchor it on a chain. Well, you need to be able to fit in the block space of Midnight. And so how do you get access to that? Well, you can get access to it by holding Night and generating dust. You can get access to it by somebody else giving you their dust, or you can get access to it by somebody, let's say, sponsoring you, right? Like just paying your fee for you. So as I mentioned, you go through this unproven, proven, and then balanced transaction step. they have different trust models, so I want to bring that up. But if you're willing to enable somebody else to do some of the work for you, there is an ability in the system where somebody else can pay your fee. And so we can make a deal where, well, you just got to swipe your credit card and pay me $1, and I will sponsor your transactions for a month, right? That could be something you do, and that interaction only requires the sponsor to be able to get access to Dust. The one being sponsored can just do web requests. They don't even need to know what's going on behind the scenes, and the deal's done, and the transactions will get submitted and handed for you.
So it sounds like there's almost an opportunity to pair people together, people who need Dust, people who have Dust, like a marketplace, right?
Correct. Yeah. So we refer to it as the capacity marketplace. We particularly picked marketplace because we want to encourage the idea that there are many ways of doing this. So there are grocery stores in the marketplace, and there's 10,000 grocery stores that you can go to, and they're all a little bit different. But if I want to go get my banana or my bread or my milk or whatever I'm getting, I can generally go to one of them and I can acquire those. So that particular marketplace allows you to do a few things. So the batcher would be one type of exchange where you're willing to accept that trust model, and the batcher can fulfill the payment for you. I have a suspicion that folks on this call will come up with other ways of doing this. And what I think will happen is the size of the market will adjust. So we do have plans in the future to enable an ability for you to lease Dust from somebody, but that's a future capability. We don't have that today. But we want to move towards ways of doing this on chain, like to say negotiating the transaction on chain through a set of contracts. But at the moment, that needs to develop. So we have the kind of off-chain batcher, you can set up a subscription model. And we really would like to solicit from the audience and the community, what other ways would be useful for this configuration? Because in your world, maybe it needs to be like this as opposed to like that. And we just haven't come across it yet. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop it in a modular way so that, okay, you have a few pieces that need to be sequenced in a particular order to pull the job off, but you get to choose who you depend on for that particular item in the sequence, whether it be you yourself only locally, or if you're willing to offload it somewhere else.
Yeah, so for me, when I was reading through that and the white paper, I felt that there were a lot of implications for partnerships, people to collaborate, for me to allocate Dust to other people who are maybe springing up an app that I tend to like, just as a user, I can allocate like my Dust to them.
Yeah, there's a whole other business model there. The transactions as a service could show up.
For sure.
Yeah.
Eric was in the chat earlier asking to talk about the capacity marketplace. So I wonder if he has ideas of how he's going to get involved for Eda Labs. I feel like this is another one of just like, we don't know what we don't know yet. And it'll just be interesting to see how it evolves. It's back to just the beauty of decentralization of like, here's the tech. I can't wait to see where it goes. Yeah. Oh God, that's fun. That's a good one.
Yep. Empower them and off it'll go.
Totally.
So along the lines of like hybrid dApps, we spoke about being able to process sponsored transactions, being able to process transactions with like fiat. But then we did a large campaign with several other networks, right? Who some of their users were allocated nights. And that makes me think like maybe there's some sort of opportunity for us to collaborate for cross-chain dApps and maybe have some of those users sponsor things.
So there's a lot of, let's say, pathways there. So on the hybrid dApps, we are certainly looking to build capability into Midnight so that you can, let's say, bring your assets from other chains to Midnight or in a way, extend them with Midnight. So we need to be able to understand the cryptography on the other chains and the hashing on the other chains, right? This kind of very, let's say, mundane table stakes to be able to manage crypto material from other chains or interact with it. When we have that in place, then you can think about it like, well, I have a DEX on Ethereum where I have a private key and it has an address, and I could use Midnight to add an attribute. We're already seeing going in that particular direction, and it just depends on how many steps you have to do yourself now, but over time it's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. So there's that type of hybrid application. There's also other types of hybrid applications where we want to be a little more autonomous, where let's say you trigger a transaction on one chain and it will have an effect on a second or even a third, kind of depending on how long of a ladder you want to follow. And so we're looking into that as well. We think with Midnight, you could like make an analogy. There was HTTP, and then at some point somebody added the S. So the underlying protocol kind of the same, but there's this security element that got added to make it so that, okay, not everybody can view what's going on in between A and B. We think Midnight has the potential to serve as that. We need some more capabilities to be put in place, but you could potentially keep ownership on Midnight, but trade on other chains. And so you could take advantage of the speed or the throughput of a particular chain, or because the trading is over there, but you could potentially keep the ownership or your position private, which is, in certain jurisdictions, a requirement. Those are future. Those aren't here today. They're coming. There'll be a couple hard forks away. Right? So just to give you kind of a feel for time, this is going to take a little while for us to get there. But moving in that direction is something we definitely want to do. And then to add to that, we even want to extend the consensus mechanism to be a multi-resource consensus. So if you have Night on other chains, and we have validators on those other chains that understand that that's the Night, well, then why wouldn't you be empowered to be able to do gestures with that Night on those other chains? I think this is a very real reality, but again, time frame wise, we got to get there, right? And right now, the focus is on getting the tokens out and launched. It's moving around. We're going to get mainnet out for you. We're going to get you some of these new tools where Night generates dust, and we'll get onto these other things later. But they are activity items that are certainly coming down the pike.
That's exciting. Now, when you were talking, you mentioned kind of like processing transactions on another network like Ethereum. And I think one of the things I struggle with is that everything you do on those networks are public, right? So if I'm using, let's say, Dust to do something with Midnight and I'm shielding transactions, does that mean I can hide, let's say, maybe a pending transaction that would go on Ethereum?
Well, so Dust's universe is restricted to Midnight, right? So you don't get to change the rules of the other networks just because you use Midnight. We'd love it if we could, but
the Dust universe exists only here.
so there is a realm that we're within, but as Lauren mentioned, extending those other ecosystems with the ability to prove things with private information and make it part of the transaction is absolutely where we're going. But I don't think it's necessarily a replacement, right? If I have a successful business that's operating on one of these other chains and Midnight comes knocking, I find it unlikely that I'm going to get them to convince them to move their revenue generating thing over, right? That'd be a lot of effort and they're already making money with it. So why? But what if it's missing something? What if it's missing a KYC element? What if it's missing a privacy element? What if it has these other features that it could unlock for its customers if only the technology was available? I think that's where Midnight fits very nicely. Midnight can be an intermediary that can enable these types of interactions. It's a term I'm not a super fan of, but we used to use this term middleware way back when. It lives in the middle. You don't really see it, but it's there all the time. So an example of that is your login, right? Log in with Google, log in with Facebook. That follows you around the internet everywhere, right? We want to build a different version of that where it doesn't follow you around in the same general way, but we want to empower that user to make that choice. And the only way to do that is to be able to extend our technology into the environments that they care about.
So it sounds like there's an opportunity for a lot of infrastructure plays for the KYC thing, for verifying information. Lauren, we've been going over a lot of hackathon projects. Maybe can you share some of the ideas that kind of work?
what are hackathon idea projects that work?
Yeah, any projects that you can see maybe where they're doing something on Midnight that could potentially interact with another chain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know yet. Because it hasn't happened, but I mean, I'm only right now thinking about the ones that we see day in, day out, right? Like we saw 3 today that were excellent. And I'm so proud of the projects that like are finding success in what the tech is capable of right now. I'm sure that those projects also, okay, we can like, for example, Eclipse Proof, that is one of our MLH recent winners that has done a really cool fellowship. Is it an 8-week program that they hosted? 8 to 10, something like that. And it's an income verification app that I think is very close to becoming mainnet live. Like upon mainnet, they could have an application live on, and it was just a hack project only a few weeks ago. But I could see that having I think almost all of them really could translate to different chains as well. I don't know. What about you? How do you answer that question?
So as you were saying that, I was thinking about the projects we reviewed earlier, and there was one that is in a video game.
Oh my
that
God,
had
wasn't that
nothing to do.
so fun? Oh, Ben.
That was amazing.
I mean, no, like I first off, like the way that they demoed that project was so darling. Also, they were just so excited to show it to us. Go ahead, tell Ben about it.
Yes, I wasn't sure how much you wanted to share about it, but
I mean, why not? It was awesome. It was so cool.
Yeah, so it was a demo of basically asset ownership, but they decided to. The original approach was talking about real estate, tokenizing real estate,
yeah.
and then they realized they can do this for a bunch of digital assets. So they're tokenizing things within Minecraft, and apparently there's a whole market within Minecraft that I'm not a player, so I'm not aware of. But there, you can sell different assets, you can load them, and you can see kind of the data being pulled in from Midnight. So we had a really quick prototype, but I was just mind blown that they could even do that, and it was within a few days.
They built it in 4 days, but like it was just like so charming too, just the way that they were like, and now we get to show like, and it was working also. And testnet has been down. Like we've had some trouble with our testnet recently. Devs in the audience know the troubles we're facing as of late. We promise Preview is going to fix that, and we're really excited for everyone to be able to migrate to that very soon. I'm turning on my sales voice right now, and I'm going to turn it off right now. But that's an incredible use case, and I was like, holy moly, that's going to open up a whole world RWA wise, and what we can tokenize. I mean, you love to talk about what we can tokenize and what we should be tokenizing, but yeah, I mean, and their like eyes were just lit up with the possibilities and what they were able to build too. And like, dang, are they going to build that? And again, back to, I think that project could be live by mainnet also. I really believe in them. I'm so proud of them. I mean, all projects, we saw a bunch of like final showcases today. So it was a really fun day for us, right? Because it's like a culminating graduation, if you will, showcase day. And so you get to see the fruits of the labor of everyone working really, really hard. And despite testnet, all the problems that we were like having as of late, you know, the enthusiasm of what they're building and wanting to continue on and wanting to participate in Build Club, our new program that we're launching in the new year, and wanting to validate their idea and find users, validate that idea, and then, you know, like, let's find investors and go. It was incredibly inspiring. I feel so lucky that we have found these brilliant builders that want to be a part of this ecosystem and are like, I mean, just like these ideas I wouldn't personally never thought of. Like, yeah.
Well, the enjoyable part, at least for me, is since we get to see them, sometimes they get connected to other ones that have like, ooh, we could add this little feature, and they already have it. Just bring it over.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, we have Z swaps, right? Where you can swap 2 tokens, and you just need the offer and the matching offer. Well, when you do that matching, that doesn't have to be done on chain. That could be done old school. Like it could be done with a mail, putting a letter and shipping it to somebody, and they just have to type something in at the other end, or an email. And turns out there's a partner that had come up with this particular idea for, okay, well, I can do a market with, it was video game assets, where the trade is done by emailing a file to my friend, and then it does the match, puts it on chain, and trade happens. Like, clever, very clever.
I love those sorts of ideas because it's so creative and just so out of the box, things that you're never even thinking about that you can take from the real world. And that's really what we're offering, right? Is like being able to take this real world things you have, verify this information, and do something with it on chain.
Absolutely.
So now we covered kind of the distinction between night and dust, and we covered that one is shielded, one is unshielded, and a lot of the implications there, cross-chain applications, things like that. But one thing that I realized while I was reading this is that since there's not speculation associated with dust, this has implications for cost, right, for developers. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So night and dust have a relationship where, from your fixed amount of night, there is a fixed amount of dust that's generated, block after block after block. But dust also has a couple other properties that I don't know that we mentioned today. So one is it's non-transferable. So wherever you designate that it's going to be generated at, that's where it is. It lives there at that address and can be spent from that address, and that you can't change, you can't transplant, you can't send it to somebody else. It's just there. You could redirect it. You could say, don't do it there anymore, go do it over here. That's fine. But once it starts to generate, it's locked into that particular spot. And the other element of it is it decays. So if I generate 1 unit of dust right now, a week from now, that 1 unit has decayed to nothing. And so what this does is it gives you kind of a little linear growth where I get my night, I can grow my dust, and then I can spend. From there, but it gives you a nice little separation. So I am not spending my night to run the system. I am not paying for my Apple phone with Apple stock, which is Fami loves to give that example. You're just not. You're right. I'm buying things in my life with the fuel, the money that I have to kind of acquire those particular assets, and I am not compromising the investments I have. Right. I'm not like taking part of my home loan out to go buy groceries. Like that would be a difficult way to live. And in the crypto space, everybody else makes you do that. You buy your ETH and you spend it in gas. And if the price of ETH goes up, you are less likely to run transactions. So that system actually, if the price goes way up, should stop working, because why would you pay for that transaction? And now you're stuck. Now you have something really valuable in the system that won't transact. Our separation doesn't cause that problem. So you can still go and do what you want with night. You can use it in lots of different applications. But with that night, you can generate dust and you can run the midnight network. The way that prices are set is they'll be set based off of block fullness, and that number will adapt over time. But the way to think about it is like, let's say block fullness of 50% was the target. Well, early on, we got to build up transactions, so we won't be there. So the price will go down, right? Because you're not full enough. And so the system will self-organize and it'll lower the dust price. So you'll be able to interact more cheaply. Over time, as transactions show up, the block fullness will grow. Maybe sometime it's above half, and then the price will start to kind of ratchet up. So it has this self-regulating capability in it. But the nice part is it's only spending of the dust. So the actual asset of night, however many of those you have, you still retain those. If you have spiky behavior where, in the US, the day after Thanksgiving is a big shopping day. So there's, a big spike in transactions on that day. Well, you could do a few things. You could go try to acquire a whole bunch of night. Sure, maybe that's easy to do, maybe it's not. Or you can use some of these other mechanisms to go get dust from others through like a subscription process, or they designate it to you. And so now you have the ability to handle these types of spiky applications through different mechanisms that are other than just going and buying the crypto and having it get burnt down and get burnt down really fast on a day with lots of congestion.
Yeah, this is amazing because anyone who's been here since the beginning of, the revolution of Web3, they've had to deal with these spikes. And not only is it great for businesses, but a lot of those businesses early on were kind of offloading the expenses to their consumers. So you would pay, your own fees for a lot of these things. And I vividly remember some friends who have no knowledge of this getting into this, spending like hundreds of dollars, up to $1,000 on congestion fees, and and then the transaction fails. So they don't even get that money back even after it fails, which is completely absurd.
Yeah. So this one, it's a different model, right? Let's say it requires a little more dedication and understanding, right? You're not just getting the night to go spend or consume the night. You're getting the night to get the dust, and the dust is that fuel to operate the system. Lots of different ways to acquire it. Lots of creative people online here, come up with different ways, and maybe you can be the kingpin of that particular strategy, because it's gonna be a race. I think people are gonna provide these services. I think they're gonna be highly useful, and then well, why did you use that one? It becomes a little bit of a popularity contest. Which one works the best? What do people talk about? And I look forward to joining in and hearing what people have to say.
Yeah, so there's a ton of questions in the chat. It's going to be hard to get through all of them. We can continue the conversation on our forum. I highly recommend checking out that Dust Spec. There's a lot of graphs that will help you kind of digest this information and understand the production of dust, when it stops producing, when it's transferred, how that all works. So highly encourage you to look at that. One last question I wanted to get into just from the community. They left a couple of comments. I know as of right now, we can't programmatically designate dust or something like that. I'm assuming that that would come down the line. One question I also have is for night transfers between Cardano and Nights, can dApp submit a single cross-chain transaction, or is this always going to be this like mint and like lock mechanism? How would that work?
So there's a little bit of a bootstrapping thing that needs to go on here, and then let's say lots of players can come in and participate, and we're definitely encouraging that. So when we launch mainnet, all the night is not on midnight, right? It's on Cardano and other chains that it was minted on. You can generate dust with that night, but it's in a different place. Eventually, night will start to show up on midnight through block rewards and things like that. But on day one, that number is like nothing. And so what problem would we be solving by putting night over on midnight? Well, is you need a pair to be able to have like interactions and trading and other things in the system, unless the system is purely just kind of a recordation system. And so I suspect people will want to bring a value carrying asset over. They can make their own for sure, but we need to enable at least kind of night being able to get over there. So we'll have a protocol level bridge that will run at the speed of finality. So I just want to bring that up, where from Cardano, you'll be able to send your night tokens to midnight. So you'll be able to take those tokens on Cardano, lock them into a smart contract on Cardano, which understands that and then can unlock them or allow you to retrieve them on the midnight side. And so we can move night on to midnight, which can enable bridging or other types of technology where that token can move to other places. Once we get night on midnight, then the community can come and use it because it'll be there, it'll be available. They can build a DEX on midnight that allows you to trade it. They could build a bridge. There could be various partners that have various types of decentralized apps that can work across chain. But the thing we need to do is we need to get night over there so that there's this particular asset that can make that exciting. The bridge that I mentioned, the protocol level one, will, like I said, run at the rate of finality. So right now, finality on Cardano is a 12-hour window, right? So you commit, you lock, you wait, and then it gets unlocked on midnight. There are some improvements coming to Cardano to shorten that significantly, like down to minutes rather than hours. Once that's available, great, that bridge will move faster, but it will still move at that protocol speed. So if you're looking for something that's quicker, well, then you got to look for other types of like collateralized bridge options or things like that. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to enable them to come by getting the assets in the right place, and then empowering them with the tools that we're providing so that they can build their applications on top. And then it's up to the community to build whatever interesting things they can come up with, because I don't want to be the gatekeeper here for sure, because I have some ideas, but they're not always the greatest. We want to put the asset in place and let other people come and determine how this could be most beneficially used.
Yeah, so I feel like from our discussion today, there's tons of different opportunities for developers in our community, whether that's like a little bit later, once the bridging features become available and they can build their own bridges, things like that, cross-chain applications, hybrid dApps, or even applications where no one even knows you're running on Midnight. So I am super excited for this feature, and seeing it being developed is amazing. We are approaching the end of the hour. Lauren, did you want to cover something?
I saw some folks asking in the chat about where they can, get started contributing to this blockchain project. And if you are still curious about that, we have gamified that experience on Zeely. So we would love for you to kind of start playing around with that. I think it's zeely.io/CW/midnight. And yeah, just start collecting those points as you onboard and you learn and play around in the docs. We're launching the Academy on a new platform very soon. And I just said earlier that I hate saying coming soon. So I hate that I just said that. So retract that I said it, but I am really excited about it and it looks so cool. But yeah, and our contributor hub, as always, I think it's a great place to pick up a ticket. And personally, I think a lot of us devs learn by getting our hands dirty in the code. And so go pick up a ticket and learn and play. And Compact is a fun language to learn. It's TypeScript-like. And so, yeah, if you're curious and want to learn more, just see what we're on the community board. We need to update the label for that, but community board, contributor hub, on there we have issues for ideas about dApps, but also content ideas, small bugs, really little things to big ideas too. So there's good first issues as well as massive things. So make it approachable to jump in to big ones as well. So yeah, I think that's a nice place to kind of get started. And also the Discord and the forum, those are always good places to kind of meet people and see what people are chatting about. The dev chat and the Discord is definitely where our team hangs mostly, but the forum is where I would say the developers have a safe space through all the chatter of the token right now. There's a lot of chatter in the Discord. So yeah, just fair warning.
Thanks, Lauren, for highlighting all the opportunities for the community to get involved, to contribute, and to communicate with each other, share ideas, and build on the network. Now, right before we wrap up, I want to give a quick update. As Lauren mentioned, we get excited about getting our hands dirty, and many of you are practicing, are building applications, building on our network, and we've recently been running into some issues with testnet. So one thing I wanted to highlight is that one of our community members actually made this a super seamless experience for you to run a local net to get some testnet tokens. So we have the repo up there that you can scan. So while you're going through it, you can test it. It takes like 4 minutes, 3 minutes, not even, for you to spring this up, get some testnet tokens, and begin testing your contracts. So I've seen a lot of chatter going back and forth about how to do that with a local environment. So want to shout out Sergey and his team for providing that to our community, making it accessible. And we also have a Midnight Explorer that was posted on our forum. So I'd like to share that as well. So if you're deploying your contracts, you're testing things out, and you want to see, hey, did this go on the network? You can always post your transaction hash on there, check it out, and see if it actually processed. So those are all our updates for today. Any last words, Ben, that you'd like to share with the community?
Well, just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for your time and attention today. I think I have lots of fun things coming. So stay tuned, and thanks again for joining.
And Lauren?
Thanks for what a fun week this has been, everyone. Thanks for being a part of this. We're just, getting started. Let's go.
All right. Thank you all for joining. I hope you have a great day.